There is a powerlifter today who is so overpowered, it is almost stupid. A lifter who is combining world records of other lifters that were deemed impossible to match, let alone break and combine. A lifter who is hitting numbers now that even just a year ago, if you would have said these numbers were going to be hit, you would be called crazy. And to get straight into it, if you don't know who this man is, you've probably been living under a rock in powerlifting because he's been the talk of the town for the last few months. That man is Joseph Borenstein, or Joey B, as he is affectionately known as. And the crazy thing is, he's still only 21 years old. The man is still a junior, and he's not even out of the juniors soon. He's 21. He was born in 2003, so he's turning 22 this year. But Joseph Borenstein is the most overpowered powerlifter today. And I'm going to go through exactly why that is. But first, let's delve a bit into his career. So he started off as a USAPL lifter. In 2018, he started competing when he was only 15 years old. And he was a 74, a 75, because USAPL did their typical trash USAPL move and decided to change weight class because that's just how rubbish USAPL was. But anyway, I'm grouping him with the 74s, right? Because 74, 75, as annoying as it is to have that kilo difference, for all intents and purposes, same weight class, right? So he competed as a 75/74 in the USAPL for that entire time, and he was the third 74/75 lifter to ever cross the 800 kilo barrier. That's right, the third lifter to ever do it. Only after, obviously, Taylor Atwood was the first, and Austin Perkins. He even did this before Shel Backlund did, because the meet where he totaled 800.5, that was actually USAPL Nationals in 2023, which was the same meet where Austin Perkins hit his 851, right? And that got kind of overshadowed there. I feel like if he had done that in any other meet, or if Austin Perkins wouldn't have done 851 in the same weight class, this would have got a lot more kudos, because people forget, like, 800 had only ever been done by Taylor Atwood and Perk at that point. And then this 20-year-old comes along and crosses 800, and it's almost forgotten about because Perk did 851, which was like so unimaginably crazy that everyone was fixated on that. Plus, that was also the meet where Rondell hit 1045. So there were a lot of big things happening in that meet. And this kind of got overshadowed, but Joey B was the third man to ever cross the 800 kilo barrier as a 74/75 lifter. Again, he weighed in at 74 point something, but I'm grouping them as the same weight class. Now Shel, he even did this before Shel Backlund did. This was before Shel hit his 800. Shel hit 800 in December that year at Euros, right? And he later took that up to 815 a few months later. But regardless, after this meet, Joey B announced that he was going to be moving up to the 83 kilogram division, or 82.5 as he was in the USAPL at the time. However, before his next meet, he did a last-minute hero cut back down to the 75s, and he totaled 820 kilos. This was in March 2024. Which was the third highest, still is, the third highest 74/75 total ever done. And again, that's only behind Perk and Taylor Atwood. That's even above Shel's 815, right? Because Shel did 815, I think it was around a similar time. I want to say it was before this, but it might have been slightly after. It was around that March 2024 time. But yeah, Shel did 815, and that was the official world record at that time. However, Joey B did 820, and that still stands as the third highest 74/75 total ever done, above Shel's best ever total of 815, and behind only two absolute goats in Perk and Taylor Atwood. Now, after this, he did actually finally decide to commit and moving up a weight class and not do any more hero cuts down. And keep in mind as well that he was only 21. He was 21 years old when he hit that 820, which is wild. But yeah, after that, he decided to go and commit to the weight class up, and he decided to, like all other lifters that are semi-decent in the USAPL, they finally saw the light and saw how trash USAPL was and how it was ruining the sport. So they decided to make the amazing decision to ditch it and go over to Powerlifting America. So from 2024 onwards, he went to Powerlifting America, and this is where Joey B really got the attention he deserved, because in July 2024, which remember is only 4 months removed from his 820 performance that he did, right, as a 74/75, so he wasn't anywhere near filling out the 83s at this point. He won the SBD rally meet, setting the overall 83 world record at 865, which still stands today, half a year later, as almost half a year later, as the biggest total ever done by an 83 ever. So he became the strongest 83 lifter ever, only 4 months removed from competing as a 74/75, and still at only 21 years old. So that in and of itself is wild, right? That he did that 83 world record at 865. There's a few other things about his performance though. Number one, a few months prior to this, I want to say 2 months prior to this, he was competing at junior nationals in PA because he wanted to go to IPF Junior Worlds, because his initial plan was to go to IPF Junior Worlds and use that to get a wild card to Sheffield. Unfortunately, he got injured. He injured his back and he wasn't able to pull any deadlifts in that meet, so he wasn't able to go. 2 months after he wasn't able to deadlift, he then breaks the overall 83 world record, beats Ross's number of 860 and goes to 865. That's insane. So he finally got his kudos for this, which I feel like he was kind of due from his USAPL days, but was sort of overlooked because he was kind of overshadowed by Perk there. However, the other crazy thing about this, right, is this wasn't just any other, like if he had done 865 at any meet, it would have been crazy. But this was at SBD Rally, which might not necessarily be as prestigious of a championship now, but I feel like it will become more so, because SBD Rally, for those that don't know, is essentially Powerlifting America's version of Sheffield, right? Where they invite all the best US lifters who didn't make it to Worlds, so basically the ones that didn't win nationals, because we all know how stacked the US national scene is, that even if you finish outside the podium, you could be like putting up totals that would put you in contention for the world championship title, right? So it's kind of unfair that a lot of American lifters that are so world class don't ever get to go to Worlds, when lifters from other countries who are nowhere near as good as them are going to Worlds just because there's no other competition in their country. But anyway, SBD, or Powerlifting America, decided to hold the SBD Rally Championship, where they invited all those US lifters who didn't quite make the national team to Worlds. And they set it up like a Sheffield, where they said weight classes will compete against weight classes, and the winner is going to be whoever breaks the record by the most, except it wasn't the IPF world record, it was the Powerlifting America record, so the national record. Now, here's the catch though. In a lot of weight classes, the national record was actually above the world record. Because remember, the world record, IPF world record, can only be set in an international meet with international judging. So it can only be done at a meet like Worlds, Euros, NAPFs, Asian Championships, right? Stuff like that. Now, for American lifters, pretty much the only chance they get to break or match a world record is at Worlds, because they don't have a Euros unless they want to go to NAPFs like Gavin Aiden did, or unless they make it to Sheffield. So a lot of the best American lifters actually hit bigger numbers in their US nationals. I mean, look at the American World Champions from this year, right? Perk, well, let's start from the very bottom. Waska hit the same total at Worlds as he did at PA Nats. Jonathan Garcia hit a bigger number at PA Nats than he did at Worlds by like 10 kilos or 7.5 kilos. Perk hit a bigger number at PA Nats than he did at Worlds by 3 kilos, I think. Russ hit a bigger number at PA Nats by over 15 kilos than he did at Worlds. Petrie hit a bigger number. Ash hit the same. Bob hit a bigger number at PA Nats. Jesus wasn't at Nats. So almost literally every like single American lifter actually hit a bigger total at PA Nats than they did at Worlds. So the American record is above the international IPF record in a lot of these divisions. So that's why SBD Rally is so impressive to win. It's like a mini Sheffield, where the records they're going for are actually higher in many cases, right? Like if Joey B had gone to Sheffield, I mean, remember at that time the official IPF world record was only 845 or 845.5 by Durans at that time. Obviously, Ade has since taken that to 861, but the overall 83 world record still stands at 865 from Joey B. So he won SPD Rally and he competed against 3 other world-class 83s and he beat all of them. So not only did he take the 83 kilo overall world record, he had 3 insanely impressive head-to-head wins at that same meet in doing so, which makes it all the more impressive, right? You guys know how much I value head-to-head wins in powerlifting. He beat 2-time world champion and former IPF world record holder Delaney Wallace, who totaled 840, Chris Perez, who totaled 840, Angelo Fortino, who totaled 835. Like, we're talking about totals here, 835, 840. These totals would win you every other meet, including Worlds, pretty much. I mean, apart from this year where you had Durans at 845 and Ross around the same. But literally every other year, an 840 to 830 total would never be beaten ever. And Joey B beat 3 lifters that were in the 830s and 840s, which is absolutely crazy. So that's a huge win on his resume. And this is when people really took notice of Joey B, right? Even though what he did as a 74/75 in the USAPL was amazing, this is really what put him in the forefront of people's minds. However, now as crazy as this was, it keeps getting crazier, right? Because his rate of progression throughout all this is what has made him set the world on fire. Because again, he's only 21 years old, and remember, he first hit 800 in September 2023. So 6 months before this 865, right? It took him 6 months to go from breaking into the 800s to hitting 865. That is a massive jump to an already insane world-class total in only 6 months. But it gets even crazier. The 900 kilogram total. That's right. This is mind-boggling stuff. You can't even wrap your head around this, honestly. But at the start of the year, literally this is just a few days ago, on the 3rd of January 2025, he hit a 300 squat, 220 bench, and 380 deadlift on his SBD day in the gym for a 900 kilo total. Now, I don't even know where to start with how impressive this is, okay? 300 squat, 220 bench, 380 deadlift. 900 kilo total. It literally wasn't that long ago that the 93s were chasing 900. Now, I know technically Jesse Norris hit 914 in 2014, 10 years ago, right? And then no one's been close since. And the rest of the tested lifters in the IPF have been slowly catching up. Jawan Garrison hit 915, but they're questionable, right? Again, Jesse Norris, drug tested status, plus the standards in which he lifted to and the meet he did it in, super questionable. Jawan Garrison is now banned from Powerlifting America for self-admitting to the use of a peptide, pretty hilariously, through an Instagram story. So his, and again, he competed in and out of tested, untested federations. So his status as a tested lifter is pretty much shot. So really, really, the best 93s have been chasing 900 for years and years now. And apart from those 2 very dodgy examples, no one's come close, really, or no one's hit it. This year, that was finally crossed legitimately by Gavin Aiden. Gavin Aiden set the IPF world record at 901 at an APFs. But for Joe Borenstein to take the 83 world record into the 900s, now this is not official by any means. This is an SBD day. He did it at the gym. This was not in a meet, okay? So this doesn't break the world record officially, right? This is just what he did in the gym. He has to obviously put this onto a platform to make it count for anything. But still, as a training total, for him to take the training total of the 83s into the 900s after the weight class above has been battling for years to get it there is just wild. Now, as crazy as the 900 is, another insane thing is, again, the rate of progression here. January 2025, that's only a year, sorry, not a year, like less than half a year removed from when he hit 865. So let's recap. It took him about half a year to go from 800 to 865. Then it took him less than half a year to go from 865 to 900. Where is this man going to be in another half year's time from now? Mind-boggling stuff, really. Now, again, as crazy as that is, I want to point out the two specific lifts in this, and that's his bench and his deadlift. He bench pressed 220 kilos. So he outbenched the greatest 83 kilogram bench presser of all time and one of the greatest bench pressers of all time, period, Owen Hubbard. Owen Hubbard held the IPF and overall 83 kilo bench press world record at 218.5. And he's held that since, I believe that specific lift was done in 2019, but he held the world record prior to that in 2018 and then raised it to that 218.5. So this is a world record that has stood for over 6 years now, right? And no one's come super close to breaking this either. And this was also pre the rule change with the elbow depth coming in. So since the elbow depth rule change, Owen Hubbard's bench has dipped to sub 200s, although again, he's kind of getting out of his prime now. But Joey B, with sufficient elbow depth, broke this record by 1.5 kilos. Again, unofficially, it was in the gym, but still, he outbenched the best 83 bench presser to ever live by 1.5 kilos. That in and of itself is crazy. But then he also deadlifted 380 kilos. Now, 380 kilos matches the current IPF and overall world record in the 83s, and that was the 380 that was done by Enaharo Asin, 380 kilograms. Now, Enna has held the IPF / overall deadlift world record since, I believe, 2020 or 2021. So he's held it for a few years now, and he took it, I believe it was only like 336 or somewhere around that range when he first got a hold of it. And he took that all the way up to 380, which is a crazy increase. Enna is considered by many to be pound for pound the best deadlifter today, which I agree with. I think he's one of the best deadlifters ever. You'll see, I actually have a video series coming out after this about the best individual lifters of all time. So the best squatters, best benchers, best deadlifters. You will definitely be seeing Owen Hubbard on the best benchers list, and you'll definitely be seeing Enaharo on the best deadlifters list. So the fact that Joey B outbenched the best bencher in his weight class ever, matched the best deadlifter possibly ever, pound for pound, right? And obviously in his weight class, is wild that he managed to do both of those. So he's essentially got a world record bench and a world record deadlift, which is unheard of. Like, usually those two things are so opposing to each other. I mean, NI is a perfect example. NI has a 380 deadlift, the best deadlifter 83s I've ever seen by far, up until Joey B just matched it in training. Enna's bench is below 160. I believe his best bench is 157.5. So for Joey B to have the same deadlift as him, but be able to bench over 60 kilos more to also have a bench world record, are you kidding me? That's out of this world. That's unfathomable. It really is. I mean, we all know how Enaharo, everyone says that if he just improves his squat and his bench, he would be unstoppable because he always deadlifts last. He deadlifts last and he loads what he needs to do to win, whether that's 400 plus or not, right? And he breaks the floor with 400 plus language. That's how freaking good he is. But yeah, Enna is just out of this world in deadlifting. And everyone says, what if his bench was better? What if his squat was better? Well, imagine I told you that there was an Enaharo who could pull what he pulls, who also has a world record bench. Your jaw would drop. That's what Joey B is. Joey B is Enna with a world record bench. Oh, and by the way, he also squats 300, which is also insane for an 83. That's like top level. Again, not quite world record level because you have Russ in the 320s, 330. You have Jones in the 310s. You have a number of other lifters who are between 300 and 310. But a 300 squat is still absolutely elite as an 83. So, yeah, I mean, no one else has a world record bench plus deadlift, really. I mean, Perk, I guess, is sort of close to a world record deadlift, a few kilos behind. Sort of close to a world record bench in training, a few kilos behind. Which is crazy because he also has a world record squat. Shell is another one. I mean, he's presumably going to break the 66 deadlift world record as he drops down, and he probably won't break the 66 bench press world record because that's held by Eddie Berglund before the elbow depth rule, and that's actually higher than the 74 bench press world record. So I don't think Shell will be able to do it. But yeah, incredibly rare to have a bench and a deadlift world record at the same time because of how usually opposing those leverages get. But Joe B might just do it. So what's next for Joe Borenstein? Well, I mean, this explains the thumbnail now, right? So he has the best bench press ever in the weight class plus the best deadlift ever in the weight class equals Joey B. That's why he's the most overpowered powerlifter. But what's next for him? I mean, he's going to be competing at PA Nats in a few months' time, going up against the same lifters he beat at Rally, presumably. So you're going to have Delaney Wallace, Chris Perez, Angelo Fortino, who all would have got stronger in that time as well. However, he's also going to have to add Russ to that list, Taylor Atwood to that list, Sean Noriega to that list. He's going to have to go up against an insane lineup of American lifters. But here's the thing. I don't think anyone beats him. I mean, as crazy as the 83s have been recently and how much they've leveled up, I don't see anyone really being able to hit a 900 kilo total, apart from Joey B. Plus the fact he's still only 21 years old, 22 this year, still not even out of the juniors yet, right? And he's already this good, and his rate of progression, that's why I included the dates of his best totals there, so you could see his rate of progression and how rapidly he's progressed. Where is he going to be in another year's time? I don't think anyone's going to keep up with him. Already no one's keeping up with him, but I just see that distance getting more and more between him and everyone else. Right? Russ, I mean, I know Russ has hit 885, I think, in training leading up to Sheffield, but we've seen Russ hit totals like that in the gym for a while now, and we just know that when he cuts to 83s and he competes, especially internationally, he's just not at that same level and he can't retain a lot of that strength. That's why I think he needs to go up to 93s. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. But apart from Russ, I don't see anyone else close to a 900 kilo total, even in training. And I don't think anyone beats Joe B. I think Joe B wipes the floor with everyone. And yeah, he's going to do absolutely insane things in the next year or so. So watch this space. Future GOAT. He could be. He very well could be.